Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wiggins 77 True Crime. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. So, thank you. We're going to continue with the JonBenet Ramsey case. So, here we are. We're back at the crime scene. So, let's recap what we've learned today. We don't know for certain all the doors were locked the evening of December 25th through to the early morning hours of December 26th. Therefore, an intruder could have entered the house. This is confirmed 2 weeks into the original investigation when the police department received a forensic report that stated they had a DNA profile of an unknown male inside of JonBenet's panties, which ruled out everyone in the Ramsey family as well as several others. Although the police received the forensic report on January 15th, thereabouts, 1997, just a little over 2 weeks from the date of the crime, they chose to never make this fact public as it countered their theory. With the forensic report, it is most likely the crime was committed by an intruder. Now, don't forget, an intruder is not just the boogeyman in the bushes, but can also be someone you know. This is a stone cold case. Unfortunately, we can't go back in time as much as I wish we could to search neighbors' houses for the missing duct tape or the missing pages from the writing pad the ransom note was written on. We also can't go back in time to confiscate people's shoes to test the soles for possible urine stains matching JonBenet's DNA or take samples of their palm prints. Attempt to match them to the partial palm print found on the door to the room that JonBenet was found in, plus many other investigative tasks that should have been done at the time the crime was discovered. All we can do is look to the evidence we do have and what evidence could be tested. There are three possible items that could be tested. More complete tests on the white blanket. They could test the bristle end of the paintbrush and possibly the notepad the ransom note was written on. What would this further testing achieve? Possibly just confirmation of the already unknown male DNA. If you found the same unknown male DNA on the bristle end of the paintbrush, more on the white blanket, this would be like confirmation that indeed this is the killer's DNA. And if you found it on the writing pad, then that tells you for sure who most likely wrote that rubbish ransom note. You are most likely wondering, what about all the different theories, all the witness statements that I haven't discussed? Who did what when? As an investigator of a cold case, you need to focus on what you have before you. Witnesses are unreliable at the best of times, never mind decades later, because you have to ask yourself, are they telling you what actually occurred, or are they telling you something they read or heard? Is it fact or is it gossip, especially with a crime with the level of press coverage this one has had? The most important statements to read are the original witness statements taken within the first few days after the discovery of the crime, as these will be the most accurate. Unfortunately, in this case, some of the neighbors were never interviewed. The ones that were documented statements are few and far between. Therefore, what would have been most valuable doesn't exist. As the police at the time said it themselves, they saw no value in completing these tasks. They weren't interested in the neighbors. I don't know why. That should have been the first place they went looking. Okay, so what do you know? You know how the victim was killed. You have the killer's DNA found on the only pristine piece of evidence, the victim's panties. Also, the same unknown male DNA was found under her fingernails and on her leggings. To solve the case, you need someone to match that DNA too. Like it's wonderful that you have the DNA, but this killer did not kill before, and they have not killed since, because they're not that kind of criminal. Okay, people think that one day it'll end up in the CODIS system. It hasn't so far, and I doubt it ever would. What does the evidence you have tell you about the killer? And that's what you have to do. Let's narrow down. Who could this be? The left photograph is a close-up of the knot on the broken paintbrush that the killer used as a handle for the noose. This is in layman terms what is referred to as a Blake's hitch knot. The right photograph, you see what is a Blake's hitch knot. Sorry. Blake hitch knots are predominantly used by climbers, search and rescue people, Boy Scouts, cadets, or any other of those outdoor activity groups, as these knots are for ascending and descending using ropes. Okay, this is not the average person's choice of knot to tie. Yet, as you can see, this was the killer's first choice. So the first thing you're going to look at is, okay, that, like, I tried to tie that knot. I couldn't do it, to be honest with you. Like, I must be a stun bunny, but I couldn't make that knot work properly. So what you would do, if I was a cold case investigator, the first thing I'd do is look at all the males in the Ramsey neighborhood that engaged in any of these activities back in 1996, and I don't restrict it by age. Kids kill. That's a fact of life. It wasn't well known back then, but it's true. So you take a list and you make all the names of all these males in that neighborhood. Okay, and mark those names down. Okay, so here on the right is a photograph what is left of the broken paintbrush, and on the right you have the other ligature. This possibly tells us that strangling JonBenet was not part of the killer's original plan. The first half of the crime appears to be pre-planned, like the writing of the ransom note, which I truly believe, and this is my opinion, that it was written long before the day of the crime. So they bring their ransom note, they bring a stun gun, they bring their tape. That's all planned. The second half is all improvised. Like, you've got the killer, he's acting a bit like a MacGyver. He's using items that are closest to him, that are available to carry out the second half, so to speak, of the crime. Now, please be patient, as I realize in a lot of people's minds they think I'm skipping over mounds of important information. At this point, we're not building a case to take to court. We're looking for a person who will match the unknown male DNA based on the thin evidence there is. Because without finding that person, you're never going to court. So all the rest of it doesn't matter. How did they get in there? How long were they in there? When did they do this? When did they do that? That doesn't matter if you never find the person who did it. So the only way to find that person is you've got to narrow down who had the ability to do it. Okay, so we're not looking for the local pedophile or a strange boogeyman in the bushes. As chasing those groups of people, it was a wild goose chase back then, and it is today. The person that committed this crime knew JonBenet. This was a targeted crime right from the start. Okay, so there's no doubt about that. I mean, this was just, the first half of the crime was too well planned for it to be a boogeyman in the bushes and saw her and decided, I'm going to do this. Or some pedophile stalking her. A pedophile would never have left her in the house. A pedophile would have taken her with them. Just that's their behavior. So here's an aerial view of the Ramsey neighborhood. Now, in the middle of this photograph is the alleyway that runs down the middle with the homes along the alley on both sides. Okay, the Ramsey home is the red balloon. With the list of all the males in JonBenet's neighborhood that engaged in the activities we discussed, look to see where these people are located in relation to the family home. So all the people who are like cadets, climbers, search and rescue, maybe they were volunteers for search and rescue, maybe they're a fireman. put their names on the roof of their houses where they live in the neighborhood. Now, once that's done, determine which of these males on the list that would have known that JonBenet's dog, would not be in the house that evening, and who on the list also knew the Ramsey family was going to their friend's house for dinner. The list should be getting very narrow by now. Place the names of those people on the roofs of their homes. Which of those people have line of sight to the south side of the Ramsey home, including the alley and the upper south side windows? Remembering that the crime occurred in December, so there would not be the foliage on the trees, with the exception of the few evergreen trees. You're going to end up with 2 or 3 family names. The reason I choose these parameters is because whoever the killer is must have known that Jacques would not be in the house. No need to worry about a yappy little dog, and those little dogs are yappy little dogs. The Ramseys were going out for dinner. Must have had line of sight of the alley to see the Ramseys return. They must have had line of sight to watch the 3rd floor windows at the front of the house until the lights went out, knowing that was John and Patsy's bedroom. Watch the house for a period of time to ensure no lights went back on or off again, signaling somebody may still be awake. These are the males. Someone should covertly obtain their DNA, have it compared to the unknown male DNA profile. You may get a direct match or a familial match. It's only logical. I will leave you with those thoughts in mind. Next episode, we will discuss theories and opinions. Thank you so much for listening. Please click the like and subscribe buttons. It's free. Look forward to you joining me for our next episode, where we will continue to review the evidence and collect the clues. Please leave your feedback in the comments, or you're more than welcome to email me directly at ybentley@outlook.com. Until next time, always remember, every day is a gift.